And we are back with the fifth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fifth segment, as well as the rest of the fifth segments that are, Jesus, my hair is all over the place. But in this fifth segment, as going to be the rest of the fifth segments for the week, I'm going to be creating a list of players that I think deserves an MVP over a player that won the MVP in that year. So I'm going to do an example in this episode or in this segment, as well as, I'm going to continue with that going into the next fifth segment and then the next one and then the next one until I run out of players that I think deserve an MVP, right? So again, I'm going to explain how I'm going to do this segment so that way you guys can have an idea of how it goes. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a player that won the MVP in a specific year, and I'm going to say whether I think he deserves. I'm going to bring up another athlete that I believe deserved the award over the athlete that I just mentioned, and again, it should be noted that the MVP is I'm going to say this into the mic,
a regular season award.
Meaning that I'm only going to be judging it based off of the regular season. I am not going to be judging it based off of the postseason. It is just going to be players that played better in the regular season than the MVP, and therefore players that I think should have won the MVP over an MVP caliber player or over the MVP of that specific year. So, just to give an example for this segment, the biggest player, and I'm going to go from, I'm going to go from currently, so from this year backwards. So, we'll start with Joel Embiid. Obviously, Joel Embiid, he won his only MVP in 2023. That was when Joel Embiid won the MVP for the NBA and for the Philadelphia 76ers. And in my opinion, he did not deserve to win this MVP. I think that Nikola Jokic was the better player this year and was the better player in that season and should have won the MVP aside from somebody like Joel Embiid. And the reason why I think that is because Nikola Jokic, he ended up playing more games than Joel Embiid that year. Nikola Jokic, while he didn't average as many points as Joel Embiid did in that previous year, Joel was averaging 33 points per game, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 54% from the field, and 33% from three. Again, these are fantastic numbers. These are great numbers. But Nikola Jokic in that year was averaging 24 points per game, 11 rebounds, 9.8 assists, while shooting 63% from the field, 38% from three, and 82% from the free throw line. This man was averaging almost a triple-double. He averaged more rebounds, he averaged more assists, and he also was able to average more steals than Joel Embiid. The only thing that Joel Embiid had beat on Nikola Jokic was points per game. That was the only thing that Joel Embiid had over Nikola Jokic. Nikola averaging a triple-double, a damn near 25-point triple-double on 63% shooting is unheard of. It's never been heard of in the entire history of the NBA, and he didn't win the MVP solely because of Kendrick Perkins. Now, let me explain that. Kendrick Perkins, when he was on First Take, I cannot believe that I'm actually saying this. This is absolutely ridiculous. But he blamed the reason why Joel Embiid wasn't number one in MVP voting was due to racism. I'm not making that up, and I'm not trying to slander him. I'm not making that up. This is actually what he said, and this was the biggest turning point in the MVP voting. Because the minute Kendrick Perkins says that he thought it was racist, everyone flipped their opinions, and Joel Embiid became the number one in voting for the MVP. Like, he immediately became the favorite for winning the MVP the second he mentioned that it was racist. Like, I am sorry, had nothing to do with racism, had nothing to do with that. It was just that Jokic was better than Joel Embiid that year. It was that simple. And the voters, they were afraid of being dubbed as racist. And therefore, because of that, it pushed them to vote for Joel Embiid. That was the only reason. I know it sounds bad, but that was actually what happened. You had to be there to see that. But I'm going to go ahead and pull up a quote for Kendrick Perkins, because he really, like, that was really a thing. That was really what happened on First Take. And it was really just, like, even Charles Barkley had something to say about this. In the headline of this article, it says, Charles Barkley rips Kendrick Perkins for suggesting racial bias plays a role in MVP voting. And let's see, Barkley talked about Perkins' remarks on Denver's Altitude Sports Radio with Vic Lombardi, Mark Moser, and Brett Kane. The former Phoenix Suns star said he didn't believe Jokic was worried about what pundits were saying about him on ESPN's First Take. And really, I'm pretty sure, this is the quote, I'm pretty sure he don't give a damn about those idiots talking about him on TV either. If I know the Joker, he probably just got out of bed, probably got a good night's sleep. The Nuggets, they won a tough game last night. Mike Malone probably should have given them the day off and let them sleep in the day after that game. I'm pretty sure he's not in for all this silliness. You can't tell me because the numbers don't make sense. Does he know how many voters are white actually, or did he pull 80% out of his you-know-what? My point is, if only 5 white guys have won MVP in the last 30 years, that makes 0 sense, his argument. 0 sense. Because if that was the case, we'd have a lot more white MVPs. Wouldn't the numbers be way, way worse? So, this was Charles Barkley's quote on Kendrick Perkins and that entire situation. And that was really the biggest reason why Joel Embiid even won that MVP to begin with. Because, as I said before, Jokic was number 1 in the MVP gradings and in the MVP polls up until that point. And, not to mention, Jokic ended up winning the MVP the next year after Joel Embiid won the MVP. So, really, there was no competition. I think Jokic should have won the MVP in that year, and Joel Embiid only got lucky that Kendrick Perkins even, brought that up and told everyone about that, because if he didn't, he would not have. Jokic would be standing on 4 back-to-back-to-back-to-back MVPs right now, because he already has 3, and he should have won an MVP in that year. He's already the best player in this decade. He's already the best player that this decade has seen. Simply put, give me Nikola Jokic over Joel Embiid in any situation. I don't care whether it be regular season, whether it be playoffs. It doesn't matter. Just give me Nikola Jokic over Joel Embiid in any situation. And that's the big reason why I have Joel Embiid as one of the players that doesn't deserve an MVP. And that's basically how this is how the 5th segment is going to go for the rest of the 5 segments. I'm going to bring up another player or maybe 1 or maybe 2 players that I think didn't deserve the MVP over a certain player. So it's going to happen for majority of these 5th segments that I'm going to be doing. Now, if there isn't any sort of basketball news to talk about, I might sprinkle that in there as a 4th segment or a 3rd segment and do 2 people, but really this is going to be saved for the 5th segment for this week only. So just wanted to let people know that, and that's all that I have on this podcast. Thank you so much for tuning into the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Let me know if you like this fifth segment idea. Let me know if you'd rather do something, if there would rather be something different that you want me to do. Just let me know. Thanks once again for tuning in. And as always, we love to hear what you guys have to say for this show, and we love having your input. So make sure, if you want to make sure that your comment gets recognized, just hit the $ below the chat box. Send in your message. It's guaranteed to get featured on the show. It's a great way to support our channel as well. And we're grateful for each and every one of you who joins us here, and it really does make a difference. If Super Chat isn't really your thing, then you can always use the link displayed below the ticker on every show segment, or the link displayed below in the description, gsmcpodcast.net. It really helps the show. It makes it much more interactive between myself and you guys. That is all that I have for you today on this segment. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Nelson, and as always, take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go